Ever since my own brain injury, I've been thinking a lot about neuroplasticity, because in the knowledge that my brain can make new connections is my hope that if not heal, my brain will rewire and adapt new ways of doing all the old familiar things that most of us take for granted. I eat right, I exercise, I spend time with friends, and I spend a lot of time on my laptop and iPhone. In fact, during the worst days of my recovery, I thank God daily for Steve Jobs, because without my MacBook and iPhone, I would have been isolated and alone. Instead, I was connected. But as I struggled to add more and more face-to-face living to my life and less screen time, I began to wonder, what was all that connectivity doing to my connections?
The internet, like all intellectual technologies, has a trade-off. As we train our brains to use it, as we adapt to the environment of the internet, which is an environment of kind of constant immersion in information, constant distractions, interruptions, juggling lots of messages, lots of bits of information. As we adapt to that information environment, so to speak, we gain certain skills, but we lose other ones. Use of online media enhances some of our visual cognitive ability. So our ability to spot patterns in arrays of visual information, to keep track of lots of things going on at once on a screen.
The news that screen time would help my visual system wasn't new to me. I'd been prescribed brain training videos at the hospital as a way of strengthening my visual attention. I heard a but coming.
But along with that, what we lose is the ability to pay deep attention to one thing for a sustained period of time, to filter out distractions. And that, the ability to pay attention, not only underpins kind of ways of thinking that are pretty obvious, contemplativeness, reflection, introspection, all those kind of solitary ways of thinking, but what we know from brain studies is that the ability to pay attention also is very important for our ability to build memories, to transfer information from our short-term memory to our long-term memory. And only when we do that do we weave new information into everything else we have stored in our brains, all the other facts we've learned, all the other experiences we've had, emotions we've felt. And that's how you build, I think, a rich intellect and a rich intellectual life.
So this explains something to me. When I used to be habituated to another intellectual technology, the wristwatch, I used to feel disoriented when I would forget it. But when I forgot my iPhone, I felt downright panic. Was this because my iPhone was carrying more intellectual technology for me than the wristwatch? Or was it something more? My iPhone was becoming my prosthetic brain. What I couldn't remember, it did. It was my link to the outside world, but also, like any good personal assistant, it was becoming my gatekeeper. And not just to how much information I wished to process, but specifically how much emotional information I was willing to process.
Parents text and do email at breakfast and at dinner while their children complain about not having their parents' full attention, but then these same children deny each other their full attention. This is a recent shot of my daughter and her friends being together while not being together. And we even text at funerals. I study this. We remove ourselves from our grief or from our reverie, and we go into our phones. Why does this matter? It matters to me because I think we're setting ourselves up for trouble. Trouble certainly in how we relate to each other, but also trouble in how we relate to ourselves, in our capacity for self-reflection. We're getting used to a new way of being alone together. People want to be with each other, but also elsewhere, connected to all the different places they want to be. People want to customize their lives. They want to go in and out of all the places they are because the thing that matters most to them is control over where they put their attention. So you want to go to that board meeting, but you only want to pay attention to the bits that interest you. And some people think that's a good thing. But you can end up hiding from each other even as we're all constantly connected to each other. Over and over I hear, I would rather text than talk. And what I'm seeing is that people get so used to being shortchanged out of real conversation, so used to getting by with less, that they become almost willing to dispense with people altogether. So, for example, many people share with me this wish that someday a more advanced version of Siri, the digital assistant on Apple's iPhone, will be more like a best friend, someone who will listen when others won't. We expect more from technology and less from each other.
And that's the paradox when neuroplasticity meets hyperconnectivity.
Well done! Well done!
We biologically are finite. We don't get to keep all of our connections. To make new connections, we have to choose which connections to leave behind.
Well done! Well done! I'm sorry! I'm sorry, Wilson! Wilson, I'm sorry! Wilson! Wilson!